This is show 522. If you would like to read any of the show notes that we talk about on the program today, visit elevatorradioshow.com and do a keyword search for 522.
You're tuned in to the Elevator Radio Show, a weekly program dedicated to covering news and information on elevators, escalators, and moving walkways. Produced in the wee hours of the morning, a new show is uploaded every Wednesday, sometimes even before you get out of bed. Listen to some of the comments sent in from our audience.
Rob from New York writes, Tom, are you f***ing insane? You actually get up at 2 a.m. each Wednesday to put this show out? Man, you must love elevators. Tim from Illinois writes, I'm not sure why I listened, but ever since I tuned into the first show back in 2007, I've been addicted. Matt in Texas writes, I like your safety messages, Tom. It's important to remember them each and every day. And he also adds,
when am I going to win the monthly prize pack giveaway?
Ron from California sent this in. Despite your inability to pronounce words in the English language, I tune in each week and am glad that you offer this service to the industry. It's better than Google News alerts. Sarah from Washington writes, love the show, Tom, and look forward to it each week. I'm glad I signed up for the newsletter. You provide a valuable resource for the industry, not only for North America, but worldwide.
Enjoy the show. And now, here's your sleep-deprived host, Tom Seibert.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's show. Yes, it's good to be here. First and foremost, I need to thank everybody who sent me emails, texts, called me. Nobody visited me personally, but I truly appreciate just the feedback regarding last week's program that I received, talking about the accident statistics as they relate to elevators in the construction industry sector as well as those in the consumer sector. I really appreciate it. I don't honestly feel like I did it justice, and by the end of the program felt as if I just had not done enough. And I know there are many of you out there that feel that same way, and I am here today to tell you that you are not alone and that each of us can make an impact on what we do each and every day. So be that person that goes out and starts talking about what was shared in that report. My goal truly with sharing the information in that report was that you take that with you. You share it. You print it out. You keep it in your toolbox. You keep it in your car. I had a mechanic that came in last week for some parts that he needed, and it's actually right after the show on Wednesday. I printed that report out, gave it to him, and it's scary. I mean, the work that we do out there is dangerous. He shared with me an incident that happened the day before in the hoistway where somebody he was working with had a plate on top of in the machine room, and there was basically he was moving a metal plate. There was a graded flooring with just a quarter-inch gap between the grating and the wall. And he shared with me that something fell down. This plate that was being moved fell out of the helper's hands and literally just somehow perfectly had managed to fall down that crack. And it just was terrifying. He said he's never been more scared in his life as he realized this plate had fallen. And then it was falling, 10, 15 stories. Could have gone through the top of a car. My point is that we need to learn from those situations. We need to make sure they don't happen. We need to figure out how to prevent those from happening. So, and the only way we're going to do that is to ensure that we're all talking about safety, that we're making improvements. We're figuring out together what steps need to be taken to prevent preventable accidents. And that's something we need to do each and every day. It's never ending. It is always continuously moving towards a better place. It would be great to see that report that I shared on last week's program have statistics that are dwarfed, are so low they can hardly even be measured. That's my goal with it. I don't care if anybody talks about the Elevator Radio Show. That's not what the intention was for the program. It was simply to get that report out and into as many people's hands as possible so that safety is thought of as a concern. I do want to, it's pretty cool. I mean, I got a lot of great emails, and one of which I didn't realize from one of the people who would actually help provide some of the statistical data for CPWR, and can't name that name, but it was So the data that was in there was pretty significant, and pretty, in my opinion, pretty spot on in terms of it being correct or it being aggregated from some reputable sources. So share the report. I am going to figure out a way of linking that report online so that it's actually in on the Elevator Radio Show website page, so that you don't have to go digging for it, and hopefully it'll help you out. So as you do your toolbox talks every week or whenever you do them, bring up the conversation of this stuff. There are people out there that don't think safety is a concern. It is definitely a concern each and every day. And if you think otherwise, you are kidding yourself, and you may not make it home to your family. And that's not what your managers necessarily want you to have happen, honestly. So there's never, ever a job that's so hot or so critical that you can't stop to take a break and take a step back, and then realize that by rushing, it could create an unsafe situation. So let's all do our part. Okay, we're going to get into the show notes, have you out of here hopefully in about half an hour or less. And again, thanks for everything that you shared with me last week, and I'm glad you enjoyed the program. So, and if I missed something, please let me know. Share with me what I perhaps did not target on, and I'll definitely be happy to add that to the program, or have a show on it. So anyway, up next we'll get into the news and have you out of here in no time. In Chicago, we're under another winter storm warning, although I don't think we're going to get clipped as badly as the central states of Iowa and all that good stuff. But I actually don't mind the white stuff too much, and kind of makes the colder temperatures a little bit bearable. So anyway, hopefully it's nice in your neck of the woods. If you're getting pounded by snow right now, please drive safely or stay inside. That's all I can say. All right, news is up next.
Let this week's news stories give you a lift on what's happening in the vertical transportation arena. Each news segment is organically dug and fresh with news stories of the week. Got lift? If not, stay tuned.
All right, first news article of the show. This was not a great news week as it relates to accidents, unfortunately. Again, just improving the necessity of not only the Elevator Escalator Safety Foundation, but also in all of us making sure that we're thinking about safety each and every day. That's about it. 9-year-old girl falls shaft. This happened in Utica, New York. Details are pending at this point, but the reality is that nobody should ever fall down an elevator shaft. And that was an elevator shaft fall that injured a 9-year-old girl. The injuries are serious, obviously, for that fall. There's not really a whole lot of information as it relates to the title of this article. Regardless, it's a pretty serious incident, and I'm sure that details will be released down the road. So, and as we learn them, we will definitely share them. Happened at an apartment building, apparently, and news on that is linked in the show notes. NBCnews.com has a report: HUD officials tour public housing, get stuck in elevator, and that's kind of an oxymoron to some extent, as much as housing and urban development, administrators are touring a housing facility and get stuck in the or stalled in an elevator, kind of prove that there's some issues. This photo here also shows apparently what looks as if some garbage or recycling containers may be catching water. I'm really not sure. Oh yeah, to catch a water leak. What I would like to know, and this is what kills me with a lot of these types of situations, is how much do these people make? The upper echelon tiered people. How much do they make? How much do they make to run a housing authority or HUD, and how much do the upper people make that kind of money does not go back into trying to fix Intel? And I realize that you can't fix it with $20,000 or $30,000. The budgets for some of this stuff is so high, but the reality is that why don't they look at where money is spent when it comes to trying to house those that perhaps need the most assistance? I have the biggest issue with that as it relates to our school district, and the top officials making so much money. And I'm not one to say it should be governed based on what they, by anybody, but it just seems excessive in so many cases to have a school administrator or administrator of HUD, making X amount of dollars, and having lower echelon people. It's just a bureaucracy government to some extent. Okay, next news article in Chicago here. There's an article resident stuck in an apartment elevator 3 times in one day. That's got to be an extremely frustrating situation. And the reality is that this apartment building or this Sheridan Courts building, just lots of information. If you watch the video, I'll let everybody do that on their own. It just talks about some of the violations that were found in the elevator, and the reality is that I think some of us are just not necessarily in touch with the kind of the work that happens out there. But you do not want to be an elevator company being mentioned in any kind of article like this. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. And there's one in Houston that's going on right now that's just pretty much it's unfortunate because typically you'll see just this being handled by lawyers, but as it gets into the media, it can get ugly really quickly. A serious accident occurred in New York. New York Daily News reporting freight elevator crushes worker in Lufthansa cargo building at JFK Airport. Not a lot of information to share other than the fact, I should say, as noted in the article. I don't know how much of a fact of it is. Emergency or Port Authority Police Emergency Service unit cops removed the worker from underneath the elevator and found his cell phone next to his body, leading investigators to believe he either dropped the phone and went to retrieve it or slipped and fell into the pit and was trying to climb out. So regardless, the door should not have been opened when obviously when the car was not there. So that is going to basically throw a lot of flags up for somebody to figure out what the heck that person was doing, whether or not there are other people or other workers that have access to elevator pits, or they know how to bypass them or whatnot. And man, if you're a contractor, never show anyone how to bypass an elevator or what to do in the case of anything. I've seen this happen, and it is the worst possible thing you could do in the world, to show like a building owner or a maintenance person how to access the elevator pit or how to do any kind of troubleshooting or whatnot on an elevator itself. Just call the professionals in. It's hard enough for them to take care of it, let alone some maintenance worker who does everything in the building, including fixing the roof. And I understand how that works, but the reality is that just don't do that. You set yourself up for some huge liabilities that you do not want to come and have bite you in the butt. The report we talked about last week is in today's news aggregator feed. Safety and Health National Safety Council actually posting the link to the article, which again just notes some of the significant items regarding working around elevator equipment, also the consumer from the consumer section as well. So again, I'm going to figure out how to post that, or it's not hard to figure out how to do it. I just want to make sure I've got it up there in a way that doesn't go down anytime soon, and I'll share that next week when we go over the program. So it's nice to see that linked up. Took a couple weeks to get there, but thanks to the National Safety Council for sharing that. Multiple injured after escalator malfunctions at a Louisville, Kentucky game. This happened at the KFC Yum Center, and again, I think escalators in convention centers and other sporting arenas don't get used as much during non-peak hours, and then all of a sudden are used massively at one time. And I think that I'm not an escalator mechanic, so I can't really comment to the full extent of this, but I would think that perhaps, you wouldn't think it would need more maintenance necessarily, but perhaps maybe testing prior to events like this so that brakes can be checked and everything can be confirmed and all that good stuff. So, this has happened before, not necessarily at that arena, but in the past it's happened. Head of New York City or New York CHA's beleaguered elevator division is suspended, and was not suspended for anything other than just allegations that he violated the anti-discrimination policies. So to read more about the real deal and how they documented the mismanagement of underfunding of CHA's or NYCHA's elevator unit, and whether they put them at risk, can be linked in, clicked on and read in the story there. So feel free to check that out as well. And I'm just getting back to the bureaucracy of and perhaps even the distance or the division between, the administrators and those that try to perform the work. I've seen it firsthand in terms of funding being available or not being available, and a lot of the time that's the issue. PostNR.com has a cool article. This is probably the most positive article of the show. Pember Library Museum expands the new elevator building. Kind of a cool ad on the outside of the building. Looks almost as if it just fits right in. So check that out. The link is in the show notes. Just goes to show you how an elevator can be added somewhat easily to an outside of the building without making any major architectural changes. Although I guess that might be a major architectural change if you're an architect and you believe different. But it's intended to add accessibility to buildings where they need it, and then also provide a smaller footprint. Next news article, CHA residents concerned for their safety. I didn't link that note up. Again, it's just an article. I will go back and link that up. The Chicago Housing Authority in Chicago has some concerns regarding, not Housing Authority, but investigative reporters have concerns regarding the work that's being performed or not being performed, and just how elevators are not necessarily a priority, which I imagine there are other devices as well. The reality is, though, too, is that administrators are concerned that the elevators definitely provide a safety or a safety vehicle for those that are in the upper floors, for emergency personnel to access, respond to, and assist. Their concern is that by not having a working elevator, a reliable elevator, that they're unable to do that in a timely fashion. On the flip side, they also admit, CHA also admits in the article, that their equipment is old and, but they believe that it's maintained well. It might be, but in reality is that old equipment is, perhaps, depending on how it is maintained, doesn't always maintain the way, run the way that we want it to run. So kind of a bunch of issues there. Elevator rescue training in Rochester. ABC 6 News has a piece on firefighters using elevators to train and how to safely evacuate passengers. This proper safety steps. This is something I'm pretty sure that most fire departments are trained to do. There are some fire safety people out there that do this on their own as well. And if you Google that, you should be able to find something. Okay, Joliet will fix, the city of Joliet will fix elevator at Route 66 Stadium. It's got a brand new stadium. So anyway, they're going to be fixing the elevator, and Cali Elevator was the one that was announced that won that contract. And so that's pretty cool. Next news article, 6-year-old boy suffers minor injuries and fall from escalator at the Mall of America in Minnesota. Not a lot of information to report relating to this. It did not say whether or not he fell over the side or fell down or whatnot, but it is in the news, and I suspect we won't hear too much more about it, I hope. And just remember to do your part to tell your customers about elevator escalator safety. There's a whole bunch of literature information on the EESF website, so check it out. Okay, the International Association of Elevator Consultants, their forum is quickly approaching. IAEC Forum 2019 in Reno. If you want to get your registrations in for that, link is in the show notes, and that's always a good time and a fun event to attend. Good educational programs as well. Next news article, NASA training workshops. If you're looking for educational opportunities, I got a code update seminar coming up in Clearwater, Florida, March 9th, and then also in Denver, Colorado, in March 20th. And they've also got a Central Regional Spring Workshop, March 8th, Eastern Regional Spring Workshop, March 29th, Ocean City, Maryland, and then Western Regional Spring Workshop in Las Vegas, Nevada, April 5th. So some great opportunities to get your continuing education credits. So don't wait too long. Just get them out of the way and go have a good time while you're doing it. Education is key in terms of learning, being better at what we do, and that's firm believer in that. I do not pretend to know everything whatsoever, and I learn something new every day, and I love it. And I share with people when I learn something new every day. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. then I share that tip or that item with somebody I work with. So enjoy that. Okay, Kali Elevator has a new blog post talking about Virginia Controls, non-proprietary elevator control systems, a 2019 series. So I think it's cool that that kind of information is being shared online. These blog posts are pretty much marketed towards building owners. So there's a lot of great blog posts there that they share that relate to the city of Chicago. Probably the most proactive company in the Chicagoland area doing this kind of promotion. So, and they've been doing it for a while. So it's not easy to keep up with this kind of content. So give hats off to that company for Kali for doing that. Pretty neat. Next news article, or last one, is the Elevator Escalator Safety Foundation annual general meeting is actually tomorrow or this week. So I'm excited for the new executive director, Shelley Johnson. I think I talked to her on the phone. Being a past chairman of the foundation, I'm very impressed with what I heard. She's definitely eager. She is definitely capable of the task at hand. And I'm certain that tomorrow the board of the Elevator Escalator Safety Foundation will have more to, will have ironed out a lot of the details in how the EESF is going to help and how it is going to proceed in the future. So I'm excited. There's a need for the EESF. There was a time when I wasn't quite sure, because we didn't really have a whole lot of statistical data on whether or not the program was making an impact. We still really don't. But at the same time, the more people we get the message out to, the better off we're going to be. And I know that sounds ridiculous. Well, it doesn't really sound ridiculous, but I believe in a sense that if it's like a shotgun shell, the more spread you can get, the better off you're going to be. And part of the marketing that took place, I think in the spring, had to do with pushing larger metropolitan, densely populated areas where this kind of equipment is at. The safety message through Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff, in hopes with the goal of it reaching as many people, adults, young adults, parents with kids as possible. And that is just the world we live in. So I'm excited for the ESF and the direction that they're headed in, and then also the changes they'll be making in the upcoming years. So we'll see if we can't get Shelley on the phone in the future, and we'll talk a little bit more about the AGM and kind of what's, maybe even Mark Mullins as well. So anyway, I'm excited for him. I'm sorry that I could not make that meeting. I just got too much stuff going on, but I will be there in spirit. So visit the website for more information. Well, that's going to do it for this week's show, everybody. I want to thank you again for tuning in. As always, think safety. Share that report with your coworkers. Talk about it and print it. Put it in a safe place. And if you ever need it again, go to elevatorradioshow.com. I will put a link in the upper top part of the website for anyone who wants to download it in the future. Just know that the original report is not from me. It is from a entity, a firm, CPWR, which will be in the link of on the report itself. So check it out. As always, thanks for tuning in today. Have a great rest of the week. Bye-bye.